Aquarius workshop, understanding the duality between dominance and submission. I'll start with a quote from Pathwork Lecture 213 with the title, The Spiritual and Practical Meaning of Let Go, Let God. And the quote is as follows. He who is outwardly dominant will find it difficult to deal with the inner hopelessness. He who is outwardly negative, dependent, weak and submissive will find it difficult to deal with his covert, dominant, manipulative traits. They are inevitably two sides of the same coin. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 213. From the beginning of humanity, we have collectively held persistent misconceptions that men and women must conform to in order to be real men or women. Masculinity: strong, intellectual, creative, active, dominant, weak intuition and feelings. Femininity: weak, little intelligence, passive, submissive, intuitive and emotional. All people have both masculine and feminine qualities. When we are mentally and emotionally mature, these qualities work harmoniously to make men more masculine and women more feminine. And then we are free from the fear of love. But when we are mentally and emotionally immature, we fear love because we demand love in unlimited measure and want to rule over others. The desire to give and receive love and the desire for supremacy are inevitably in conflict with each other. Anyone who is supposed to love us must act like a submissive slave without free will, fulfilling all wishes instantaneously. We want to completely own and control the other. Hence our fear that loving others means submission and martyrdom. When others do not fulfill our wishes, we tend to behave in a dominant, hostile and resentful manner and refuse to love the other person. In this workshop you will explore with a loving curiosity 3 themes of the Pathwork Lectures regarding the duality between dominance and submission. The first theme, your childish distortion about love. When someone's love and acceptance is very important to us, we act like a submissive slave and sell our soul. The inner child fears rejection and believes that submission is the only way to get his way. At the same time, we convince ourselves that submission is real love. We believe in the illusion that we are selfless when we submit. We do not see that with this submissive attitude, we are manipulating the other person into giving us love and attention. We are blind to these unhealthy motives and to the forcing current for love that lies beneath our submissive attitude. The next quote stems from Pathwork Lecture 72. Since your concept, being unconscious, it is all the more powerful, is that love means slavish submission, you do not wish to love. You do not wish to follow another person's will. You do not wish to give up self-government, losing yourself in submitting to the rule of another person. Hence, only when you recognize your own unconscious childish distortion about love will you be able to sense or recognize the childish demands of the other person. You will then be uninfluenced by it, not feeling obliged to give in, nor feeling guilty if you do not. You will see clearly that in such a case, another kind of love can be given that has a much more detached character. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 72. The second theme, discovering the forcing current. What is dominance? This attitude demands, you have to do what I want. We use all our power, selfish and ruthless aggression to defeat others, whom we consider enemies, as long as they refuse to comply with our demands. We proudly tell ourselves that we are independent because we will never bend to anyone's will. We will also never admit that we feel vulnerable and dependent. We live under the illusion that dominance is the only way to get our way. We do not realize that this hostile greed only achieves the opposite. This attitude actually provokes hostility and creates a vicious circle in which we lose power over ourselves. The next quote stems from Pathwork Lecture 77. There is only one way to find this real self of yours that you are so ardently looking for in this work. First find and become aware of this forcing current. This current of I want on one hand and I fear that I will not get what I want on the other. Once you are clearly aware of this current in you, not as a generality, but how, in what particular way it manifests in you, you will be able to let go of it. Then and then only can you give it up. If you do that again and again, soon you are bound to become aware of the feelings of your real self, which slowly rise to the surface after you have bent them in fear for such a long time. You did not trust them. Therefore, you could not trust yourself. You can reverse that process only by becoming aware and then removing that element which you used in their stead. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 77. The third and last theme, letting go into trust merges duality. Only a healthy ego has let go of the apparent need to dominate or be submissive. A healthy ego has the courage to surrender and integrate with the true self in trust. It is no longer afraid of love, peace, bliss, abundance, and fulfillment. It has freed itself from its misconceptions and moves along with life in a relaxed manner. It allows itself to be guided in small and large matters all day long by the divine intelligence, truth and power of the inner self. We can strengthen the ego by asking the following question to the inner being throughout the day. Bless me with truth and love. What do I need to know in this specific situation to be constructive? The last quote stems from Pathwork Lecture 213. The key you have to learn is letting go into trust. And in order to trust, you must first establish certain intermediate links. They cannot be skipped. Those links form the bridge to a state of genuinely positive expectations of life. In this state there is no pressure, there is no anxiety, there is no doubt. There is the deep faith that the universe is benign and that you can have the best, the very best on all levels of existence. This is the key we are concerned with here. An open energy system in which you can positively create fulfillment and enrichment requires that you discover your inner richness. You must become rich. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 213. I wish you peace and all the best. Thank you.